Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Business Spotlight. I am your host, Scott McMeans, and I'm here today with Kent Iler from Iler Systems. And we're going to have a conversation about some pretty cool stuff that impacts your business. But before we get into that, I want to get Kent the opportunity to talk about his business, talk about himself a little bit. So, with that being said, the microphone and the camera are yours, sir. Go
All
right
right.
ahead and tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Thanks, Scott. Well, my name is Kent Iler, and I founded Iler Networking and Computing 30 years ago. Got a background in computer engineering, and so I've always been passionate about computers, technology, everything like that. So we're a managed security service provider that helps small to mid-sized businesses with everything technology related. So that includes cybersecurity, compliance, infrastructure, servers, workstations, websites, email, and anti-spam solutions. It's a ransomware is huge and phishing, so we have phishing protection and training. We help with phone systems, network-based security systems. So really, if it's going to run on top of that network, we want to be that trusted partner for all of our clients.
That's outstanding. In today's world, we were just talking about before we clicked the record button, what's happened to the city of Cleveland and a number of businesses across the country. Cybersecurity is a big issue. And you've been doing this for 30 years. I would have to say you are in a really interesting business because one, doing it for 30 years, you've got some strength and longevity. But two, it changes so often with the way technology advances so quickly. So, how is it that you and your team are able to keep up with the latest and greatest scams, viruses, hack attempts? How do you guys do that?
With being in this industry, it's super important to make sure that we are on top of everything. And with AI coming out, that's just adding a new set of things we have to make sure that we're prepared and help our clients be prepared against. So just ongoing training. I mean, we are part of several different groups specifically for managed services providers, and we talk with our coworkers around the country and to make sure that when there's new threats out there, we're aware of them. The biggest thing is, the old adage about an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And so to make sure that, your data is backed up and, if you do have an event, that you have the policies and procedures in place to recover from that event quickly. Like Cleveland was shut down for 10 days due to ransomware. And obviously they've got a lot of systems in Cleveland, but to be able to see that happen, cleanse it out and get them back up on their feet. Our goal would be to make sure that we can help companies rebound from an incident like that and not go out of business.
I like the idea you say rebound as opposed to go out of business. That I would assume is a big part of what you do with all the clients that you serve. So walk me through what does AI mean as a threat to you and your clientele? Because it's a big piece, right?
It is. So AI is an awesome tool. There's no question about that. Most of us have probably used ChatGPT. We did a program with Lynn and Sarah on 95.5 The Fish, the radio station. And it's funny because they created their own coffee brand and they used AI to create a coffee jingle for them. And so
Oh
it's
wow.
amazing the different things that you can do, from creative standpoint, which obviously opens up a can of worms about your creative, the copyrights. If you hire an AI to do that, is it yours or where does it belong to? But that's another story. So anyway, with AI, we are seeing a lot of threats. It's very easy to have AI mimic a voice, and even beyond that, they're doing deep fakes. So there was an instance in Hong Kong not that long ago where there was a video conference where a finance worker at a multinational firm was tricked into paying a $25 million out to fraudsters using deepfake technology to pose as the company's chief financial officer in a video conference call. So if you realize, let's say you're the treasurer and your CFO is talking to you, you're seeing them, it sounds like them, it looks like them, and they say, send this, you would be pretty confident in doing what they tell you to do, right?
Right.
And AI makes it easy for them to fake this. And obviously, I mean, they lost $25 million to that. So one of the things that we are doing, and I think this is leading edge for IT providers, is we have a tool. So just like when you call up the banks, so we can prove that it's you, you are going to get a multi-factor authentication anytime we have to change a password so that we know it's you. So we know it's not just your phone number coming through because your caller ID can be spoofed. It sounds like you if we worked with you because your voice can be spoofed and even videos can be spoofed now. So we send a code to your pre-authorized phone number, and you give us that code back so we know it is truly you. And then that's the first that we'll be able to change your password. So otherwise, we could be giving access to your account. And other
Yeah,
providers are doing that as well. If it's not truly authenticated, then you could be given the keys of the kingdom away to a bad actor.
that's insane that it's, I wouldn't say so simple, but it's as easy as AI is allowing it to be. That's a dangerous situation for all of us to be in. Is there any recommendations or hints, tricks, hacks of the trade? Don't mean to use the word hack, but understand my point, that you would offer up for any business that may or may not feel as if they're going to have a problem? I would assume everybody at some point is going to have a problem. So what advice or hacks would you give to have somebody feel a little bit better about what they're going to face when it comes to security?
Well, your biggest threat are employees. And so either clicking on an attachment that has malware on there, clicking on a link and downloading something they shouldn't, and again, it opens up a backdoor. But those are phishing emails. And one of the things that has been going on for a long time is, phishing email that comes through and someone signs in and transfers or sends wiring instructions to the wrong people or does the wiring to the wrong person. We've seen a lot of instances of that. The fact that now you're actually talking to someone, because email, you're not sure exactly where that's coming from. So, but make sure if you have any questions about that, you know, as soon as you get off that call, follow up, with a phone call to a number that you're calling at that person. Say, hey, did you just call me? One of the scams, I guess, that we've seen is to send a voicemail over saying, hey, I am in a bad cell spot, so you're not going to be able to get a hold of me, but
Hmm.
such and such just happened. And so I really need you to transfer this money. I'm going to send you over an email with the instructions. So they have a voicemail that sounds like them. They get an email that can be, in the past at least, easily spoofed. There are more steps that we're helping companies take to prevent spoofing of emails, but just call back and confirm. So it's a lot harder if you call the phone number and actually talk to them and make sure that they are, yeah, and they did want that request. So
I
just do a
love it.
validation.
Yeah, that's good advice. Call to confirm. That seems to be the solution to a lot of it. When we're talking about your business and being around for 30 years, that doesn't, literally, it does not happen overnight, right? But talk to me about some of the challenges that you've faced over 30 years that have allowed you to have the success you had. And I'm not necessarily thinking about the technological advances that you've made or the products you brought to market, which I'm sure are large contributors. I'm more interested in helping out our audience learn, what does a leader like yourself bring to the table to allow his team to be successful for 30 years?
So there's so many aspects to that. Our company has changed significantly over 30 years. We started off in 1994, and we were one of the leading providers doing e-commerce solutions. And so there was a company out there called Newegg, and we were neck and neck with them. We were pre-Amazon. We were doubling in sales every year. And unfortunately, it was our first instance as a consumer or a business using credit cards. And we were told that as long as you got your authorization, that you're protected. Well, that's not the case.
Mhm.
And sure enough, 30 years ago, well, it was 1997, we had our first dispute for credit cards, and we were selling equipment all over the world. And so we were selling stuff to, I mean, seriously, Russia. We supplied the U.S. Embassy in Guatemala with their IT needs, submarine bases up in Alaska. I mean, just all over the world. It was fantastic until we got that first hit. And being a first merchant experience, we were told that as long as we had that, we were protected. That's not the case. You had to have, if you didn't have the signature or ship it to the address on the credit card, then you're liable for that. And so that really ate our lunch. We lost in 6 weeks period of time, we lost over a year and a half of our profits. And so unfortunately, we had to take a step back. I don't believe in going bankrupt. That would have been a perfect um, opportunity to, but it's I call it the school of hard knocks, and some of those are pretty tough. So we ended up working out a deal where we paid off our debt, and I mean we worked with the FBI, with Interpol, since a lot of these were international, but there was no restitution for any of these. So it ended up coming down to us. So, be very careful. Obviously, as soon as the first one happened, we figured out that they do have this thing called AVS, which is address verification. So take steps to make sure that, you're not going to be held liable. And again, I think AVS was pretty new back in the 90s. So it may have
Hmm.
not been available in 94 when we set that up. But also be willing to be flexible enough to change. And so we were doing a lot of these, the internet was just becoming known in 1994. And so we were helping a lot of companies tie their legacy systems to the internet, doing website development and things. So we would do projects that were anywhere from 3 months to 3 years long for organizations. And in um, 2008, when the economy took a hit, it was the first time in my career that I didn't have a project to work on. And so it was a little concerning. So what we did is that's when we kind of stepped back and from doing these types of projects for companies like Sherwin-Williams, and Charles Schwab, that type of thing, we decided no matter what, small to mid-sized businesses need IT support no matter what the economy is doing. So we changed focus a little bit, took a step back, and we had several small to mid-sized businesses that we were already supporting, but that's kind of when we adjusted our focus, and we've been doing that ever since. So just be flexible. Don't be so rigid because as times change, if you're too rigid, then you're going to break instead of be flexible when you need to be.
It's good advice. So if you don't change, you find yourself falling by the wayside. I would assume in your market, your business, the change comes awfully fast because the technology advances and changes so quickly. Is there anything culturally, your vision, your mission for the company that stands out that allows people to realize this is the place I want to work?
Um, I would say we have a very, um, for me, it's important because my work family is our family. Now we are a family-owned business. Have had 5 out of my 6 kids work for me, but we're a smaller company, and right now I've got 3 kids working for me, but we've got 12 employees. And so I don't want to grow to the point where, you know, um, I don't know everyone through there. So I want to keep that small company feel, but we are expanding, we are growing. Last year we opened up an office in Des Moines, Iowa. This year we are opening an office in South Carolina. And over the next 3 years, I want to open up an office in 3 other states, and we'll see where things go from there. But I never want to have any office be like 500 people. I mean, I want it to be, you know, I envision it probably to be like 20 employees at each office. One of the great things about our industry, and I wish I would have done this years ago, but we do probably 80 to 90% of our support remotely. So one of our customers
Really?
has a problem, they call us in, and we can remote into their computer as long as their internet's working, the computer's working. About 10 to 20%, though, we have to have boots on the ground for those cases that don't have that. So as we build our team up around the country in these other locations, you know, um, we have a service order meeting every morning, and all techs from all locations are part of that. And so we can shift, things around. And if there's any fires we need to put out, then the people in those locations, especially if they have to go on site, will be the ones that get tasked with that. But the rest of our team can fill in the gaps then, and it really makes our whole team stronger that way.
That's pretty cool. The fact that you're willing to take a step out and grow your business. You have 12 employees. You want to have, by my count, 4 locations plus plus the original location and 20 people each. That's significant growth. Is there a plan for a timing for all this growth?
I'd like to have all that done in 5 years.
Fantastic. You're an ambitious man, and I appreciate you being so honest with the group here. That's awesome. So,
Well,
as we're talking about all these things that you're trying to do, what would you say, other than being flexible, right? Being non-rigid for the times, what is the number one key that has allowed you to take Eiler to where it was to where you want to go? What's going to bring you to the next 5 years?
having a vision and having a plan, being able to set those goals up and, just like, how do you eat an elephant, one bite at a time, you
That's
know?
exactly
And
right.
so you have to have those goals and get buy-in from the team. So, I'm not going to be a dictator and say, here's what I want to do. I talked over with the team, talked over with my wife, and she's talked me out of some ideas that I thought were great ideas. So basically, you need to have a good sounding board, have some great mentors, and so one of the person that I hold in high respect, his name's Will Nobles, and he's runs the same type of company I have, but he went from like 800,000 a year company over to 7 million in 4 years. And
Wow,
so, I mean, and his goal is to basically hit 50 million by the time he turns 50. So he has got a few years to go. But I know right now, I believe he through a lot of acquisition though, but he's somewhere in the 25 to 30 million a year range. So, um,
that's impressive.
so he's one of my mentors and trying to follow in his steps. And the other thing that's super important for us is make sure you don't um, take steps. I mean, ethics are super important. Doing the right thing for the customer. If you short sight a customer or don't do the right thing, that thing, you're going to lose a customer. And the
In a
amount
heartbeat.
of effort that it takes to get a customer, besides just doing the right thing, is ridiculous. It's so much easier to keep your customers than to try to
Hmm.
lose them and replace them. But for us, it's super important to make sure that everything we're doing is ethical and beyond reproach. So I think our customers and clients see that, they appreciate that, and we've seen two different companies come over to us, clients, because their current IT providers made some pretty glaring mistakes. And so, one ended up having a malware attack, and the other one did not have their backups in place and ended up causing weeks worth of data to be lost uh, through there. So it's super
That's a
important to
tough.
it is.
And you are appreciative of a client coming over to you because they've had what we determine a catastrophic sales event, right? Something happened, changed their life. Now they need to seek another partner. What is it that you do that avoids as many catastrophic sales events as possible?
So
Talk
it
to me
is.
about, yeah, what you do that is separating you and your company from anybody else that's in the same space.
So there's two things. One, we have a great cybersecurity solution. One of the things that Ohio is fantastic for is we are a safe harbor state for NIST CSF compliant companies. So NIST is the National Institute of Standards and Technology, and CSF stands for Cybersecurity Framework. Back in 2018, our governor said that if your company is doing that, basically you're doing your due diligence because nothing is 100% for cybersecurity. The FBI has been hacked, the CIA has been hacked, the IRS has been hacked, and they've got, a lot more money to protect themselves than most companies around here do. So it's interesting. There are 5 pillars for the cybersecurity framework, and 3 of them talk about what to do after you've been attacked. So the first 2 are preparation and planning, but the assumption is at some point you are going to have some type of event you've got to respond to. So for Ohio, if you cover these 5 things and you show that you are compliant and doing your due diligence, then Ohio will limit the amount of fees or fines that could be fined if you do have that data breach. Because especially in the
Wow.
medical industry, there's significant fines per record that is leaked out. And many times companies will end up going out of business because the fines are just too high. They can't absorb that or
Hmm.
be covered with it. It could be millions of dollars worth of fines.
What
So
are the 5 pillars?
the 5 pillars,
Yeah,
um, I have a whole presentation on, but I don't have it up in front of me. Let
that's
me
okay.
open it. Do you want me to open it real quick?
I'm curious, yeah, because I think it would be helpful for the audience to know. 3 happen after the fact, so your planning or your preparation and plan need to be pretty strong. And then after the fact, this is what happens and what you should do to protect yourself. I,
Right.
yeah, I think it's worthwhile.
All right, let me pull it up here real quick.
No worries.
So FTC safeguards is similar. The FTC safeguards made requirement that went into effect this year. The safeguards rule came out like in early 2000, so it's been around for a long time, but they revised it, I believe, in 2019 for any financial institution that covers a lot of the same things that the NIST CSF does. Make sure that you're prepared and there's significant fines. So it's not just you think financial institutions, banks, but for anyone dealing with client finances. So colleges that have student loans, automobile dealerships that do automobile loans, your CPAs, financial advisors, trade brokers, those types of things. And there's significant fines, including possible jail time. So that's one of the
Ooh,
things that we do with compliance. But the NIST CSF, there's a lot of synergy there to have both of those things there. So I'm
I
almost
think
have
the
this up.
threat of jail time would put somebody in the right frame of mind to get their cybersecurity up and running.
Exactly. So the five pillars for the NIST CSF is identify, protect, and then the last three that after an event happens is detect, respond, and recover. And so it's any of these compliances is not a one and done. It's going to be something where basically there's a whole set of policies. NIST CSF 2.0 was just came out this year. 1.1 was out for several years. So there were 108 subcategories for NIST CSF 1.1, and it's 23 categories and 106 subcategories for NIST CSF 2.0. So it goes through and basically with the assumption that at some point in time, your business is going to have to respond to an incident, have all your policies in place so you know how to do that. But under that protect, make sure you are doing your due diligence, make sure your data is backed up, make sure that, you don't have passwords that are on sticky notes attached to your monitor. And believe me, there's a lot of companies that do that. Um,
Yeah,
do you remember the incident in Hawaii where they triggered the state alarm system saying there was like a nuclear code because
yeah.
the employee took a selfie and his password was on his monitor behind him?
That I remember the situation. I didn't know that's how the password was exposed, but
Yeah.
that's insane.
So use
Absolutely insane.
a password keeper, something that's encrypted. We've got a great recommendation for some, and it can go on your mobile device, it can go on your workstation, those types of things. So you can't remember all the passwords. Don't use the same password over again, but make sure your passwords are secure. And so, and
Okay.
multi-factor authentication. There's so many things that, those steps that we help our clients take and make sure they're taking to help do the best they can to mitigate the risk. But again, there's nothing that's 100%.
Yeah. I think everybody is understanding that the multifactorial authentication is valuable, but nobody likes to get that text and, gee, I got to go through this. But if they only knew on the other side of that what actually takes place, you definitely want to get that text as opposed to not being able to communicate or do anything in your system.
Exactly. Just
Yeah.
today, I got the alert on my tablet that my Apple ID and password were used over in Saudi Arabia. And do I want to approve that login? It's like, nope.
No. No, thank you. I'm good.
So,
So,
and it gives you a chance to change your password then too.
yes. What I find interesting is when I talk to a number of different business owners, it's always, is your business a value driven proposition or is it price driven? Is your market value or price driven? And it's always interesting. Everybody loves to say, I'm value driven, I'm value driven. And I would assume you are so value driven because of the services that you provide. I'm interested to learn from your perspective when everybody believes their value or their market is so value driven, why is it that price becomes such a huge component to people not or buying from somebody they should or should not buy from?
It's hard, I think, to differentiate between the values when you look at multiple companies, because there are a bunch of them out that do what we do. And
Mm-hmm.
so if they are all sold as the same type of company, why wouldn't you go based on price? And so, but again, when you start looking at the companies then that have the vulnerabilities and, have had the track record where, what does that do when you lose over 2 weeks worth of data, especially if you're, I'm not going to disclose who that client was, but that data was super important, not just to them, but even through to the state of Ohio. That's
Oh
critical
yeah,
information,
absolutely.
and some of that may not even be able to be recovered.
Yeah, I've always been a big believer in you get what you pay for. And if you buy the cheapest one, you're going to get the cheapest result or outcome. I've always said, in my opinion, in the battle for business or any business right relationship, price is going to be your friend or your foe. No matter what, you're either going to win it on price or you're going to lose it on price. The only true ally you have in securing a relationship is value. If you cannot produce value and showcase that value, people will find a way to leave you or not understand you enough to have you stick around. So
Right.
value is a huge piece. And your descriptions today, Kent, have given me at least a pure understanding of what you guys do and the value you bring to the equation. Because as much as I hate getting that multi-factor authentication text, I do know the value behind why I'm getting that text.
Yeah.
And for that, I appreciate it. Before we wrap up, I want to make sure that you get a chance to tell the audience about your free system network analysis. So do me a favor and tell the audience what you're willing to do to help them out.
Sure. Well, with the rise of the cyber attacks that we've seen through City of Cleveland, through CDK, through the auto industry across the country and around the world, and there have been so many others. Rite Aid had a huge hit in June as well. And so we want to make sure that you know that your IT environment is safe and secure. And so we have the ability from a third party to do a free network assessment. And so we come in, we do a quick analysis, and then we go over those analysis with you. And we look for vulnerabilities and let you know, hey, these are vulnerabilities. Your IT provider should have already had these taken care of, but at least you know what those vulnerabilities are so you can mitigate that risk. Because you know, there's so many companies that have the mentality that, I'm just a small 12-person company. No one's going to be trying to attack me.
Mhm.
It's like they're not attacking you specifically. They're setting scripts out that just go out and, it's the shotgun approach. And so these scripts are looking for any systems that are on the internet. Once they find a system, they're going to sit there and look for any open vulnerabilities. And once they find them, or, you know, I would say 10 years ago, most of the time, if you got malware from a website, it was from a site that was not safe for work that you should have been going to anyway.
Yeah.
But anymore, you can actually click on an ad that says, hey, get $100 of free Google AdWords. Who wouldn't want that? They click on it. So that means these cyber actors or these cyber threat criminals are paying legitimate money to do a legitimate advertisement to get malware and this payload on your system and promising things that they can't do. So it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, and they do have the funding to try to survive and do uh, make it very tough
It's a
for
little
you.
frightening.
It is.
But if we've learned anything today, it is make sure that you change your password, right? And
That's right.
it's not always somebody's fault. It's somebody that wants to get in, and your job is to keep them from doing that.
Right.
Yeah.
So use that, or ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, better than a pound of cure, because if your data is backed up, you've got versioning on it. A lot of people, will hold up a flash drive, this is my backup.
Yeah.
This is not, not a good backup. It's great for transferring stuff from one computer to another, but you got to have backups with versioning because if ransomware hits, it can encrypt your whole backup. So you've got to be able to go to the point of time before that ransomware to be able to recover that data. But as long as you've got your data protected, you can clean off your systems and things like that, you can recover from that without having to pay that ransom. CDK just paid over $25 million for the ransom. And the big part of that is, I would say over 60% of the time, when someone pays that ransom and they think they're good, that bad actor left a back door. And within a year, they're going to reactivate a new strain of ransomware, and you're going to get hit again because they know you paid.
Yeah. That's the saddest part about it is the vulnerability keeps coming or keeps allowing you to be vulnerable because they
Right.
left something in there for you. That's terrible.
So I truly hope that, companies have a great IT provider, whether it's an IT department or a third party, but this free test that we're allowing them to do will just help them, give them peace of mind. Because if you aren't protected to the point you need to be, you want to know about that. And if you
Yeah.
are, that's help you sleep better knowing that you are good.
I like that. I like that. Well, Kent, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. I
You're
hope the
very welcome.
audience learned something today. I certainly did. And if you have the opportunity, take a take Ken up on his offer and take that free test.
Yeah,
Thank you
so
so much. Go ahead.
we'll put a link, I'm guessing, on the video there. Our website's iler.com. That's just ILER.com. And we'll put a link there for where you can sign up for that free test.
Absolutely. Sounds great. Thank you so much for being on the Business Spotlight. We'll see everybody on the next episode.
Thank you.